Action. Continuing our conversation about the e-commerce growth equation, visitors times conversion rate times cash multiplier minus variable cost equals profit. If you walk into CTC's office, you'll actually see this equation on the wall featuring average order value instead of cash multiplier. But the reality is, as the industries continue to evolve, what has become more of the buzzword is LTV, lifetime customer value. It's now, as customer acquisition costs begin to rise and focus begins to shift to retention, people love to talk about this metric. But we think there's actually a lot of problems with lifetime value as your focus metric. One, it refers to a variable time frame. So in other words, when we're using it to drive comparisons between different brands, or trying to even understand it for your own business, when you use the word lifetime, you could be referring to any period of time that reflects the length of your business's existence. For some businesses, this could be 6 months, it could be 1 year, or it could be as many as 12 years for some of the businesses that we're referring to. And the reality is that e-commerce businesses function on cash flow. That is the most important thing. For any of you that are running an e-commerce business, you understand that you look at your cash forecast and your cash flow sheets way more than you do your P&L, way more than you do your balance sheet. Cash is the core consideration in running an e-commerce business. And the reality is, if we use LTV as our core metric, we are all going to die waiting for LTV to show up, because we can't wait 12 years in a cash flow focused business for a metric to come to life. If this were a haunted mansion tombstone, it would say something like, died waiting for LTV that never came. Because the problem with LTV is we don't know the actual sequence at which we acquire that value. So if this is time and this is LTV, what you see is that LTV reflects the end of this curve. It reflects the total ultimate value over the total completion of time. But the reality is the slope of this line really matters. The rate at which you acquire that LTV is critically important to understand for cash flow. If we could move this curve to where that we could get to this point even faster, this would significantly alter cash flow in a way that would be really positive. So for us, as we think about that, we began to come up with a metric that we call the cash multiplier. That's where you get the CM here. Cash multiplier. And when we say this, what we functionally mean is your 60-day LTV. Now, you can feel free to adjust 60 for any time period that reflects the sort of normal purchase cycle or repurchase rate of your business. But 60 is a great default to look at, because most businesses, if we could adjust your 60-day cash flow, it would make a substantial difference on the function of your business. So when we think about 60-day cash flow, if we think about a cohort, let's say everybody that bought in January, and we use month 0, January, as the initial month, and we say that there were $1,000 purchased of value amongst this new customer cohort in January. To get to their 60-day value, we just have to simply look at how much additional revenue was generated off of this group in the next month, the subsequent month. Let's say there was $250 additional dollars generated. And then in the next month, day 60, there was an additional $150 generated. So over the course of 60 days, there is $1,400 in value created, divided by the number of customers in the initial cohort. That's going to give me my 60-day LTV. There are a lot of great tools to use to do this, a few of which we will screenshot and discuss below to help you get access to this data. When you think about trying to understand what is good, how is your business doing as it relates to cash multiplier, I want to turn you on to a general principle we call the rule of 30 and 100. Businesses that are able to sustain continued growth and are showing a signal of clear brand development where there's a connection between the customer and an ongoing relationship with your brand will reflect metrics that look like this. They will have a 30% increase in LTV within 60 days, and they will have a 100% increase in LTV within 1 year. If you can get your business to a place where you are increasing your AOV to LTV within 100, or your AOV to LTV, 30% in 60 days, 100% within a year, you are going to continue to grow steadily because you are going to be stacking increasingly variable cohorts or valuable cohorts. What will happen if you get to 100% is that means your initial AOV, your initial purchase, will only be 50% of the total value. So if you can imagine a scenario where you're advertising and you are profitable on first purchase, and that first purchase only represents 50% of the total value of the customer, you can see how you can begin to stack profit. So what do we do with this metric once we have it? What does it empower us to understand about the rest of this equation and the way we view our business? Well, I want to introduce to you a principle that I call CAM to CAC. Clever little ratio mechanism. So think of CAM as just another way to express cash multiplier. So just using CAM because it sounds nice with CAC, CAM to CAC. So a lot of people will talk about LTV to CAC ratios, but we want to understand CAM to CAC ratios of specific cohorts. So what do I mean when I say specific cohorts? There's lots of ways to sort and divide by customers. The example I gave up here was by time. So you can look at everybody who came in January, and you can look at the cost to acquire January customers against their value to you over 60 days. That's one way. Other cohorts include SKU. So you can look at first product purchased. So you can say, for us, I'll give you an example. Inside of our business, Bamboo Earth, if a customer comes in on a mini kit, which is a sampling of 5 different products, versus one individual moisturizer SKU, the CAM, the 60-day value of the mini kit purchasers, is substantially higher than the value of the individual petite grain moisturizer purchasers. So if we know that, we know we can be more aggressive on the CAC side because our CAM is better. So SKU is really valuable. Another way to look at it is by campaign or audience. So if you are setting up on Facebook audiences to target, let's say, a specific industry, maybe you're a fitness product that sells to CrossFitters and cyclists and, weightlifters and all these different demographics, and you want to understand the CAM of each of those different demos against the cost to acquire them. That's a really powerful way to look at different cohorts. Another popular one is discount. Did they come in on a discount? Yes or no? If so, what is their value to you? And there's a lot of narratives here that would tell you that discount purchasers are less valuable. In general, this is true on a CAM basis, but we do see brands, especially if you have an incredible product where sampling is a really important process. Maybe it's a new food product or it's a new skincare product where getting consideration and use of the product is really important. We can actually see discount customers have a better CAM to CAC ratio than full price purchasers. So something for you to consider. And then other things include angles. So this has to do with value proposition. So let's say you have a product that you think that there are potentially 3 different value propositions. The question is, which one builds a deeper connection and a better CAM to CAC ratio? So if you begin to look at this inside of your ad account, you can do the really important function of eliminating what we call the single account ROAS target, where you look at every one of your campaigns and you apply the same ROAS target to all of these campaigns. Instead, if you begin to think about the value, the CAM to CAC ratio of these different types of cohorts, you're going to begin to assign a different cost per acquisition target or a different ROAS target, and that's going to unlock all sorts of scale possibilities inside of your account. So Cash Multiplier, when you can get out and affect it as a business, unlocks all sorts of ways that you can begin to approach your customer acquisition strategy in a more nuanced and sophisticated fashion. If access to that data is difficult for you, what I would encourage you to begin with is just your entire account cost per acquisition and your entire account 60-day value. If you are diligent about affecting this number, in fact, I would offer that if you are as diligent about affecting your cash multiplier as you are about affecting your CAC, you will see your business begin to grow and you will end up with way better cash flow. Enjoy.